Landlords, today we're going to talk security deposits because it is the improper return of security deposits that's one of the #1 reasons that landlords end up getting sued by their tenants. No one wants to end up in small claims court over something that's seemingly so simple, but yet actually so complex as a security deposit. But don't worry, I have you covered because today we're going to cover my 10 steps that I use to fairly, timely, and legally return the security deposit to the tenants so they get what they're owed, but you as the landlord are properly reimbursed for the damages caused by the tenants. Guys, my name is Greg Schwartz. I'm a Marine Corps helicopter pilot turned investor, turned property manager, turned real estate agent, and I have worked over 100 deposit reconciliations, and that's what we're talking about today so that you stay out of the courtroom and keep more of your hard-earned money. Deposits have to be returned within 30 days of move out with an itemized list of all the items that you are deducting from the security deposit, but step 1 starts actually 2 weeks before move out. That's right, I usually recommend that you walk the unit with your tenant before they move out. This is a great opportunity to get eyes on the unit. What's going on? What damages can we expect? It's also a really good time and probably the last chance you will have to be in the unit with the tenant and have them point out to you possible damages. Hey, what happened to that hole in the wall? How'd that get there? Why does that sink not drain fast enough? What's going on with my dishwasher? Why is the door all cattywampus? They are going to let you know what happened within the unit over the last few years while they live there. They're either going to let you know they're planning on getting it fixed, they plan on hiring somebody, or you can let them know, guys, I'll just have my handyman repair it. It'll be repaired correctly, and you will only be charged what my handyman charged me. And by the way, they give me a huge discount because I'm a great landlord and I have great handyman. That's step 1. Step 2 happens immediately after move out. Literally within 12 hours of that tenant moving out, I want you as the landlord or your representative inside of that unit. Guys, you want to be in there and you want to document everything. You want to have documentation for exactly the condition the tenant left the property in. I'm talking about going through and you're going to take pictures of every single room from 4 or 5 angles, 2 or 3 pictures of every ceiling, of every floor, open every drawer, take a picture, open every door, take a picture. You want to take a picture under the sinks. You want to take a picture inside the dishwasher, inside the oven, inside the refrigerator, inside the washer, the dryer. Was it cleaned? Does it operate? Are the lights turning on? Turn on every switch, turn on every fan, hit the doorbell. You get the point, guys. You're gonna have pictures and or video of absolutely everything. When I'm done, I know I've done it right when my 2 to 3 bedroom units have 100 to 150 pictures along with videos for things like garbage disposals, if an appliance doesn't work, and then also a general walkthrough of the unit. Guys, document, document, document. Step 2 is probably the most important. Step 3 is to create your repair list. This is while you're in the unit. You just finished walking it, you took pictures of everything, walk it again. This is a 2-step process while you're there. The first one's all about documenting, just taking pictures. Whether the wall has damage or not, you take the picture. Step 2, you go through and now you identify the damages to the wall. You identify the light bulb that's out. You identify the cattywampus door on the dishwasher, and you start to make your list of all the things that need to be fixed before your new tenant moves in. And if you think that that thing that needs to be fixed was a tenant damaged item, the tenant caused that damage, then you make a little star next to it. Because sometimes we want to upgrade things. Sometimes my notes are, hey, the refrigerator is older than dirt, it's time to be replaced. Nothing wrong with it, no damages, but it needs to be replaced. But the broken blinds get starred because those were damaged by the tenants. Here's your first pro tip. Upload your pictures to something like the Google Drive. I usually recommend creating a move out folder, then a property address folder, and then a move out specific to that date. So it would be something like move outs, 123 Main Street, and then July 1st, 2025. And then you upload all your pictures there so you have that as a reference for years to come. Moving on to step number 4. This is after the property's already been turned. After your contract is completed, he will owe you an invoice. 1, make sure he gives you an invoice in a timely manner. You've only got 30 days to work with, and that includes fixing it up. I'm usually on top of my contractor saying, hey, you finished the work last week. Can I get that invoice today? I need to knock out this deposit reconciliation. They're gonna give you an invoice, and most likely they do not want to itemize it. But it's super important for you to have a record of not just the entire make ready on that unit, but what it cost to replace those blinds that were specifically damaged by the tenant, or what it cost to patch that hole that was caused by the tenant. Because that's going to move us on to step number 5, where we are going to add up all the tenant damaged items, and then we are going to make sure that we either give a credit back for or do not charge for normal wear and tear, guys, because we are in the great state of Texas, and I'm sure it's the same wherever you live. You cannot charge tenants for normal wear and tear. A great example for this is things like carpet. Carpet breaks down over time. As you walk on it over the years, after 10 or 15 years, you have to replace the carpet, and you cannot charge your tenants for walking on the carpet, guys. That is normal wear and tear of that item. This is how I usually approach that. Let's assume that my tenants live there for 7 years, and let's assume it's a 10-year carpet. But at the end of that 7 year, when they moved out, the carpet is pretty worked over. I can't move another tenant in, and it can't be cleaned. So I've got to pay to have the carpet replaced. It might cost me $1,000 to replace that carpet, and now I am only replacing carpet after 7 years instead of the 10 years that I was expecting to get out of it. So therefore, it was more than normal wear and tear that beat up this carpet. It was abused over those 7 years to the point where its lifespan was shortened by 30%. So I charged the tenants 30% of the cost to replace the carpet. So then in this case, on that deposit reconciliation, there would be tenant damages for $300 to replace the carpet that was worn out in only 7 years instead of the 10. Hopefully that makes sense, but guys, the point is, it's super important to know the difference between damages and normal wear and tear, and not understanding that is one of the top ways that landlords end up in the courtroom getting sued by their tenants. Step number 6, guys, this one is one that I used to screw up all the time. Step number 6 is all about checking your work. The first place you want to go is back to those old move-out pictures if you have them. What condition was the property in? We're going to charge them for that hole in the wall. Let's go back to the pictures from 3 years ago and see if that hole was there when the other tenants moved out. If it was, then there's a good chance that was just never repaired. Mistakes were made, that's no problem, but we don't charge our current tenants for what our previous tenants did. The other thing that I'm going to reference is the good old move-in inventory and condition form. This is the forms that your tenants should have filled out when they first moved in. They're going to note all the problems with your unit, all the cosmetic defects, all the things that don't need to be fixed, but hey, it's just not perfect because nothing is. They might have noted in there that there was a tile surround that was cracked. Well, you were about to charge them for that cracked tile because, of course, tiles don't crack themselves, but they put it in their move-in inventory condition form. They said, it's cracked, but it doesn't bother me. It's just a cosmetic defect. We're going to leave it. Well, luckily, you saw that inventory condition form. You took it off your deposit rack, and you did not wrongly charge your tenants for damages they did not cause. So checking your work is super important, which brings us to step number 7. Step number 7, include all the other fees that the tenants owe you. Guys, if they owe you past rent, if they owe you late fees they have not yet paid, if there's a pet fee they have yet to pay, include all of that on the deposit reconciliation. So now you have damages and overdue fees. All that should be pulled off the tenant ledger. I really hope you're using professional property management software so that you can easily pull that information and have documentation. Step number 8 is the one that I needed the most when I was doing deposit reconciliations, because when I was working as a property manager with over 150 units, I was doing 3 to 5 of these a day. And I'd make mistakes. So we always had another set of eyes. In fact, when I worked at a local property management company here in Bryan, Texas, we'd have 3 sets of eyes look over a deposit reconciliation because we wanted to make sure we were fair and just to the tenants, and we wanted to make sure that we were getting what we were owed as the landlords, or in this case, the property managers. So have somebody look over that deposit reconciliation, ask the appropriate questions, make sure you did the math correctly, which rolls into step number 9. Send this all to your tenant. You've got 30 days to make sure that your tenant receives whatever deposit is left. So they need a deposit reconciliation, the breakdown of what their deposit was, what they owed, and what they're getting returned, and then a check. I recommend certified mail so that you know, in fact, it was received by the tenant within those 30 days per Texas law, which rolls us into step number 10. If they owe you money, which happens, sometimes they're not getting a check in the mail, sometimes they're getting a invoice. Hey, you had $3,000 in damages, your security deposit was only $2,000, so guess what? You owe us $1,000. Now in Texas they have, I believe it's 10 days. We'll check that down in the notes below. I'll make a little comment if I'm wrong, but you'll have 10 days, your tenants have 10 days to pay that difference. If they don't, you can send them to either small claims court, which I think is kind of a pain in the ass, or you just send them to collections. Collections, they'll do their thing. It's very unlikely you get that money back, but at least the tenant's being held responsible in some way or another. That's it, guys. That's it. From pre-walk to walk, to getting your itemized invoices, to doing your deposit reconciliation, to having it checked, to mailing it out, to possibly having to send your tenant to collections. That is how you do a security deposit the correct way. It is time for your bonus content, because every single video I like to provide you all, our viewers, with bonus content, and this video is no different. Normally I answer a client-based question, but today I'm going to provide you with 3 pro tips. And these aren't pro tips just about security deposits. They're really pro tips about being a landlord. Tip number 1 for being a landlord is bad news does not get better with time. If you've got to charge a tenant for something, let them know early on. Tip number 2 is treat all of your tenants fairly. The best way to do that is to create processes and procedures. You do the same steps every single time, whether it's a deposit reconciliation after move out or whether it's screening tenants. You have processes and procedures so that you don't play favorites. And then this way you don't fall into the slippery slope of fair housing violations. And tip number 3, here's my soapbox. We miss in the tenant's favor. Guys, you do not nickel and dime your tenants. If you are unsure, then just give the money back to the tenant. Do not charge them for something that you are not convinced was caused by the tenant. If you don't know if it's a wear and tear or if it's damages, assume it's wear and tear. This really gets me. I think the problem is that we're so focused on cash flow that we forget that you're really growing wealth through appreciation. We don't get rich off the backs of our tenants. We get rich off the appreciation of properties being owned in great markets like Bryan-College Station. As a result, your tenants are your partners. They're not your enemies. So treat them as such. You don't screw over your partners. You treat them fairly. And then you're in the game long enough to enjoy the riches that come through appreciation. That's what I got, guys. Those are your pro tips. That is your 10 steps to a security deposit reconciliation that keeps you out of the courtroom. Hopefully this video is providing you with some value. If so, it would mean the world to me if you went down below and hit the like button. Let other people know this is a good video. Hit the subscribe button so that I can provide you value every single week on Fridays when I drop a new video. And if you really want to do me a favor, until next week when I drop my next video, you take it easy.